Life is full of surprises, and the lessons it teaches us are sometimes cruel, but they shape us as a person, making us stronger, wiser, and able to withstand any trials. How often have you thought about what awaits you in 10, 20, 50 years? What you'll be like in your old age? Will you regret that you didn't learn important lessons in time? Or will you meet your 70 years with the realization that you have lived this life with dignity, meaning, and without fear? Today I'm going to tell you about the 10 cruelest lessons that life teaches each of us. They're not taught in school. They're not explained at university. Their realization comes with experience, and sometimes with pain. And the sooner you realize them, the more likely your life will have real depth, strength, and purpose. Why is this video so important to you? Because each of these lessons hides the key to peace of mind, wisdom, and happiness. The Stoics believed that the most valuable thing in life is the willingness to accept reality as it is and make the most of it. In this video, I'll reveal how the same timeless principles can change your life. These lessons are not just a list of facts. They are a path that can save you from regrets and needless suffering. This is a guide for those who want to turn their lives into a work of art, not a chain of coincidences. Watch this video to the end to understand how to turn your reality upside down and give it meaning. If you're ready to challenge yourself, to take the first step towards true transformation, then stay with me. Because today is the day you will begin to understand what others will only realize at the end of their lives. Harsh truths await you, but remember, the truth, even the harshest, is always liberating. Lesson 1. No one is obligated to love you. Accept yourself. At the very beginning of our life's journey, we build expectations. We see the world through the lens of relationships with loved ones, parents, friends, teachers. As children, it seems like love is a given. We believe that those around us are obliged to accept us as we are, always be there for us and support us. But the reality is often different. One day we realize that the love of others is not a guaranteed part of our lives. It's a painful but necessary lesson. The Stoics taught that one's happiness depends on one's perception of things, not on the things themselves. In this sense, dependence on other people's love is a trap. If you expect someone to love you so that you feel fulfilled, you are putting your power in someone else's hands. Much of our suffering is due to expectations. Expectations of love, of recognition, of attention. But how often have your expectations matched reality? People are busy with their own problems. They have their fears, their ambitions, their pain. No one lives to fulfill your expectations all the time. And that's okay. The world doesn't revolve around us. When we accept this thought, we stop being victims. Realizing that no one owes us anything makes us free. Even if someone really loves you, it doesn't always solve your inner problems. Have you noticed that even among the most popular people, or those who have many friends, there are those who feel lonely? This is because love from the outside cannot fill the void inside. The love we look for in others is only a reflection of the love we cannot give ourselves. The Stoic principle of autarkia teaches us, everything we need for a happy life is already within us. If you don't love yourself, no amount of external approval will give you true fulfillment. How to learn to love yourself. Accepting your imperfections. Every human being is imperfect. The problem is that we often focus on our flaws instead of seeing our strengths. Learn to accept yourself for who you are. Not for the purpose of making excuses, but to work on yourself without self-abuse. Refuse to make comparisons. We live in the age of social media, where everyone only shows the best version of their life. Comparing yourself to other people's perfect pictures is a path to disappointment. Remember, everyone has their own battle, and what you see is just the tip of the iceberg. Develop an inner dialogue. Your thoughts are your companion throughout your life. If your inner voice is critical and harsh, you will suffer. Replace judgment with support. For example, instead of "I'm always messing things up," tell yourself, "I'm learning and getting better." Focus on actions, not results. Self-love grows through actions. Take care of yourself. Exercise, read, develop yourself. Spend time in nature. Do it not for the sake of other people's recognition, but for your own sake. When you start loving yourself, you stop depending on other people's attitudes. If someone criticizes you, you see it as their opinion, not the truth. If someone walks out of your life, it stops being a tragedy. You become self-sufficient. It doesn't mean you no longer need a relationship. It means that relationships stop being a way to fill an inner void. Instead, They become a joy that you can share with others. Realizing that no one is obligated to love you is liberating. This is not a lesson about becoming cold or closed off. It's a lesson about stopping looking outside for salvation. When you learn to be your own best friend, the whole world will begin to change around you. People will be drawn to your energy. You will become an example of how to live in harmony with yourself. Remember, the love you are looking for is already inside you. Your happiness begins with you. Lesson 2. Success is not about happiness, it's about working on yourself. From early childhood, we are taught to strive for success. We are inspired by stories of great people whose accomplishments changed the world. We are shown that success is the ultimate goal, followed by happiness, peace, and fulfillment. But the truth is that success alone doesn't guarantee any of these things. We live in a society that delights in external results, money, fame, career peaks. But in the pursuit of all this, it's easy to forget that success is not a finish line. It's a process. It's a work on yourself, on your fears, weaknesses, and inner conflicts. The Stoics taught that true wealth is inner peace and the ability to control your thoughts. Success without inner work is an illusion that sooner or later will turn into disappointment. When we think of success, we usually envision the end result: a big house, an expensive car, fame. But what happens after these goals are achieved? Why do many rich and famous people suffer from depression and a feeling of emptiness? The fact is that success based only on external achievements does not solve internal problems. If you are initially unhappy, money or fame will only increase this feeling. If you are not confident in yourself, no amount of external recognition will give you true peace. We often associate our happiness with achieving something in the future. I will be happy when I earn $1 million. I will be satisfied when I become a boss. But life shows that with each new achievement, our needs grow. We start to want more, and so on without end. The real nature of success is not about getting something, but about becoming something. It is a journey that unlocks your inner strength, your ability to overcome challenges and go beyond your limits. The Stoics said that the most valuable thing about a person is his character. Success is only a tool that helps you develop that character. When you work toward your goals, you learn discipline, patience, and the ability to deal with failure. You become stronger, wiser, more confident. That is true success. But success is not easy. It requires sacrifice. Sometimes it is a sacrifice of time spent with loved ones. Sometimes it's giving up the way of life you used to live. Many people are afraid of this price. They want easy results without effort. But without labor, there is no growth or transformation. Life tests us through hardship. It asks, how ready are you for what you want? Those who avoid effort will never know what true success is. Success without inner work is like building a house without a foundation. You can achieve external goals, but if you have chaos inside, that success won't last long. Many of us live with internal conflicts, fears, insecurities, resentments. If you don't work on these, any external achievement will be perceived as temporary relief, but not as real fulfillment. Inner work is a process that goes hand in hand with your outer development. It is the ability to ask yourself the right questions. Why do I want this? Where will this lead me? Will I be happier if I achieve this? The Stoics teach us to find joy in the process, not the result. They say that happiness is not a reward for success, but a way of living each day. The more we strive for success as a goal, the more disappointed we become. We think happiness will come from the outside, but it always starts inside. True success is not what you have, but what you become. It's the ability to look in the mirror and see a person you are proud of. When you start working on yourself, success becomes a byproduct of that work. You stop chasing it because you realize everything you need is already inside you. Marcus Aurelius, the great Roman emperor, was one of the most influential men of his time. But in his diaries, he wrote not about power or wealth, but about how to stay true to his principles despite adversity. For him, success was not about ruling the world, but about ruling himself. His thoughts remind us that true greatness begins with inner peace and strength. Success is not a finish line. It is a never-ending process of working on ourselves. And it is in this process that we find true happiness. Lesson 3. You have less control than you think you do. One of the biggest illusions people carry is the feeling of being in control. We feel like we are able to control our lives, the events around us, and even other people's actions. We make plans, we strategize, we expect certain results. But sooner or later, life shows us how fragile this illusion is. All our careful plans can crumble in an instant. Relationships that seemed strong can come to an end. The success we've been seeking can suddenly turn to failure. The Stoics spoke of this millennia ago. They taught that true freedom begins with the realization that you are not in control of the outside world. The only things that are truly under your control are your thoughts, actions, and attitudes. From the time we are children, we are taught to take responsibility for our lives. This is important, but there is also a hidden catch. We get used to thinking that if something goes wrong, it's our fault, that we can prevent any failure if we try hard enough. But the truth is that the world is chaotic. You can't predict how circumstances will turn out. You can't make other people do what you want them to do. Even your own body is not always under your control. When you realize how little you really have control over, it can be daunting. But there is tremendous power hidden in the same. Many of our fears have to do with trying to control the uncontrollable. We fear losing a job because we think everything is up to us. We worry about relationships because we want the other person to behave the way we want them to. Every time reality doesn't match our expectations, we feel disappointed. This frustration is a direct consequence of trying to control what doesn't obey us. The Stoics taught that we need to separate what depends on us from what does not. They called this the dichotomy of control. When you accept that most things in this world are beyond your control, you begin to look at life differently. Instead of trying to control everything, you learn to adapt. Acceptance doesn't mean passivity. It means that you act on what you can do, but don't worry about what's out of your control. The Stoics taught us to be like the sailor who cannot control the wind, but can direct the sails. Randomness plays a huge role in our lives. No one chooses where or in which family to be born. No one is immune to illness, loss, or unexpected twists of fate. But it is in these accidents that the beauty of life lies. If everything were predictable, we would never know what real joy, surprise, or even gratitude is. The Stoics weren't afraid of randomness. They said we should be ready for whatever life throws our way. Their philosophy taught us not to resist what we can't change, but to use it as an opportunity for growth. Recognizing our limitations is not weakness, but humility. It allows us to be more tolerant of others, more grateful for what we have, and more resilient in the face of difficulties. When you stop fighting the uncontrollable, you free up a tremendous amount of energy that you used to spend on futile attempts to change reality. This energy can be directed toward what really matters. If you can't control the world, then what is left? Your inner world, your thoughts, reactions, emotions. The Stoics believe that happiness starts from within. No matter what happens around you, you can always choose how to react. That is true freedom. Life continues to flow despite your desires and expectations. But when you learn to let go of what is beyond your control, you begin to feel lightness. Control over your life is not the ability to subjugate the world, but the ability to find harmony with reality. Lesson 4. Everything around us is temporary. Life is full of paradoxes. We strive for stability, look for eternal values, make plans for the future. But deep down we know that everything we see, feel, and have is temporary. Things fall apart, people leave, moments slip away, leaving us with the realization of the fragility of existence. This lesson is hard to accept, but inevitable. The Stoics believe that understanding the temporality of all things is the key to wisdom. It teaches us to be grateful for what we have and ready to let go when the time is right. We live our lives as if everything will last forever. Relationships, careers, health, the very world around us. We invest energy, time, emotions in what seems to be immutable. But it's just an illusion. Every object, every event, every feeling is part of the flow of time. Even those things that seem indestructible will one day disappear or change. Imagine the grandiose cities of antiquity. Babylon, Pompeii, Carthage. They were once symbols of power and civilization, but today only ruins remain of them. If such monuments have not survived time, what can we say about our own lives? The very idea that everything around us is temporary causes fear in many people. We fear loss. Of loved ones, of favorite things, of achievements, even of ourselves. We cling to them, hoping that this will prolong their existence. But trying to hold on to what will inevitably go away only increases the suffering. It's like trying to catch water in the palm of your hand. The tighter you squeeze your fingers, the faster it flows away. This fear of temporality makes us live in the future or the past. We either long for what has been or worry about what will be. And in this constant flight from the present, we lose life itself. The Stoics taught that recognizing the temporality of everything makes us stronger. Rather than fearing change, they suggested that we accept it as a natural part of life. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Everything that exists passes quickly and fades into the past." Remember this when something saddens you, or, on the contrary, pleases you. Awareness of temporality does not mean indifference. It teaches us to appreciate every moment. If you know that something is not eternal, you begin to see real value in it. Change is the engine of life. Everything around us is in constant motion. Day replaces night, winter gives way to spring, children grow up, and we grow older. These changes may be painful, but they are necessary. Without them, there would be no growth, no progress, no meaning. Imagine if everything remained the same: stagnation, monotony, lack of new opportunities. Life, despite its complexities, is beautiful precisely because of change. Everything we lose is part of the natural order of things. Loss can be bitter, but it makes room for the new. When you realize this, you begin to let go with less pain. Not because you don't care, but because you see it as meaningful. The Stoics called it amor fati, love of one's destiny. It's accepting not only the joys but also the losses as an integral part of life. If life were eternal, we would have no incentive to appreciate its moments. If our days weren't numbered, we'd put everything on hold, losing the real joy. Imagine you are holding a rare flower that has only been blooming for a day. You know that tomorrow it will be gone. Doesn't that make you admire it now, savor every moment of its beauty? It's the same with our life. We value it because it is finite. When you realize that everything around you is temporary, you become less attached. This doesn't mean you stop loving or caring. It means you stop clinging. You realize that nothing in this world belongs to you. All you have is a gift that you can enjoy as long as it is with you. Temporality teaches us humility and gratitude. It reminds us that every moment is a gift that cannot be returned. Accepting the temporariness of everything is liberating. It allows you to live your life to the fullest without being distracted by fears or regrets. In the next lesson, we will talk about how often we live our lives out of alignment, seeking to please others, forgetting our own selves. Lesson 5. You live for yourself, not for others. Many of us spend a significant portion of our lives trying to live up to other people's expectations. We strive to be good children, decent friends, loyal partners, successful professionals. But along the way, we often forget the most important thing: our own self. The Stoics said that every human being is born free, but we voluntarily give away this freedom when we start living for other people's views, standards, or approval. Real life begins when you realize you are not living to meet the expectations of others, but to be true to yourself. From childhood, we are taught that the approval of others is a kind of reward. We are told, be a good student to make your parents proud, follow the rules to be respected, work hard to achieve recognition. And we, as conscientious students, learn to adjust to others' standards. But this path often leads to inner conflict. We begin to forget what we want ourselves, replacing our desires with other people's ideas of what is right. But the truth is this: no matter how much effort you put into pleasing others, it will not make you happy. Even if you are praised, even if you are admired, it will leave an emptiness inside if you have betrayed yourself. The reason why many of us try to live for the sake of others is because of fear. Fear of being rejected, ridiculed, misunderstood. We fear losing the respect of society, being judged or left alone. This fear causes us to make decisions that go against our true desires. We settle for an uncomfortable relationship, a job that doesn't inspire us, or a lifestyle that doesn't bring us joy. But fear is a bad counselor. The Stoics taught us that life should be based on sound principles, not fears. When you begin to live for yourself, you gain true freedom. It doesn't mean being selfish or ignoring the needs of others. It means that you no longer let other people's opinions dictate how you live your life. Freedom begins with the realization that no one knows what's best for you but yourself. Your path is unique, and only you can choose where to go. The Stoics believed that happiness lies in being in harmony with oneself. They urged us to seek inner harmony rather than external approval. When we live for the sake of others, we often put on masks. We pretend to be someone in order to be accepted, praised, respected. But wearing masks is exhausting. It's a constant game that takes energy and deprives us of real contact with ourselves. When you take off your mask, you risk facing misunderstanding or criticism. But you also open the door to a real relationship with yourself and with those who will accept you for who you are. Living for the sake of others is a slow abandonment of self. With every compromise that goes against your values, you lose a piece of your identity. The price of this path is a sense of inner emptiness, a loss of meaning, a lack of joy. It's living in a role, not in reality. The Stoics taught that the greatest value is to remain true to oneself. Being yourself is a risk. You may face judgment, misunderstanding, even loneliness, but it is the only path to authentic living. The Stoics said that we can't control other people's opinions, but we can control our attitude towards it. If you are confident in your choices, other people's criticism cannot sway you. Finding yourself is not an instant epiphany, but a process. It takes time, introspection, sometimes mistakes. But every small decision in favor of yourself is a step toward freedom. When you stop asking, "What will people think of me?" and start asking, "What do I want?" your life changes. The Stoics taught, live in harmony with nature. Your nature is your true self, not a role that is imposed on you. When you stop focusing on other people's expectations, you need an internal compass. That compass is your values, your principles, your conscience. The Stoics believed that virtue was the ultimate guide. If your actions are in line with your values, you will feel inner peace, regardless of what others think. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Be like a rock against which the waves crash. It remains still, and the sea around it gradually calms down." This metaphor perfectly captures the power of living for yourself. The waves of other people's opinions may rage around you, but if your inner core is strong, they can't knock you off your path. Living for yourself is not about rejecting others, but about respecting yourself. It is the courage to follow your own path, even if it does not coincide with other people's expectations. Lesson 6. Loss is an inevitable part of life. Life teaches us many things, but perhaps the hardest lesson is accepting loss. Loss comes in many different forms: the passing of a loved one, the shattering of a dream, the loss of health, aging, or even saying goodbye to ourselves, to the version of us we once were. The Stoics said that everything we have is temporary, and sooner or later we will face loss. It's not a question of if, but a question of when. But there is great wisdom hidden in this stark fact. Human nature is such that we become attached to things, people, situations, memories. These attachments give us a sense of stability and meaning. But when we lose what we are used to, our inner support collapses. We feel like we lose a part of ourselves along with the loss. We also tend to look for something unfair in the loss. We ask, "Why did this happen to me?" But such questions rarely bring comfort. The Stoics taught that the pain of loss does not come from the loss itself. It arises from our expectations that things should remain the same. Loss is not an accident, but an inevitable result of the nature of things. Everything in the world is subject to change, and nothing stays the same forever. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Consider everything as such that it is ready to pass away. A person, a place, a favorite thing. All these things in their own time will cease to be." When you realize that loss is not the exception but the rule, you begin to see it not as a tragedy but as a natural part of life. The Stoics did not try to avoid the pain of loss. They understood that loss will always be painful, but they taught us how to deal with it in the right way. One of their principles is to remember that nothing belongs to us completely. Everything we have, including relationships, health, and even life itself, are temporary gifts. Epictetus said, "When you kiss your child, remember that he is mortal. It doesn't mean you should love him any less. It means you will be ready to let go if the time comes." Although loss is painful, it carries the potential for growth. Loss forces us to reflect on what is really important and reevaluate our priorities. It also teaches us to let go. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting or ceasing to appreciate. It means to stop clinging to what is gone. Many great minds have found in loss a source of inspiration. Great works of art, profound philosophical ideas, and even new beginnings are born out of loss. Imagine a man who has lost all his possessions in a fire. For him, it can be a moment of great pain, but also a moment of liberation. Having lost material things, he can begin to value the intangible. The people around him, his freedom, life itself. The Stoics taught us to look at such situations in terms of what we can learn from them. How can loss become a lesson? What can we learn about ourselves when faced with loss? When you accept the inevitability of loss, you become stronger. It doesn't mean the pain will go away, but it will no longer destroy you. Acceptance allows you to experience loss with dignity. It's not suppression of emotions, but the ability to see the deeper meaning behind the pain. The Stoics believed that by accepting the inevitable, we can find peace. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "When you grieve a loss, remind yourself that it is the natural course of things. Nothing is eternal, but that is not a reason for despair, but a source of wisdom." If we look at life as a flow, it becomes clear that losses and gains are two sides of the same coin. Each loss creates room for something new. For example, when we lose an old job, it opens the door to a new career. When we say goodbye to childhood, we gain the freedom of adulthood. Life is constantly moving, and our task is to learn to move with it. Although everything around us is temporary, memory makes loss less painful. We retain within ourselves what we hold dear, even if it is already gone from our lives. Marcus Aurelius said that life's most beautiful moments remain with us, even when they are over. They live on in our souls, giving meaning to everything we experience. When we realize that everything in our lives is temporary, we begin to be grateful for what we have. Even if it is temporary, even if it ends, we can rejoice in what it was. Every moment, every person, every opportunity is a gift that cannot be taken for granted. Loss is inevitable. But it doesn't have to be a source of fear or despair. It is a part of life that makes it deep and meaningful. When you face loss, remember that it is not the end, only a change. Everything goes away, but something always stays with you: experience, memory, love. And that's what makes life beautiful. Lesson 7. Death is not an enemy, but a teacher. Death. It is feared, it is silent, it is avoided, but it is inevitable. We can carefully avert our eyes, but it is always present, like a shadow that accompanies us from the moment of birth. The Stoics, however, did not see death as an enemy. For them, death was the most important teacher who reminded them of the value of life. Death is frightening because it represents the unknown. We do not know what awaits us beyond its threshold: pain, emptiness, oblivion. This fear is rooted deep in human nature. But there is another reason: the fear of losing everything we have accumulated. Our relationships, our accomplishments, our possessions. Everything we think we own seems so fragile in the face of death. However, the Stoics taught us to look at death differently. They said that this fear arises from our attachment to things that don't really belong to us. The Stoics saw death as a natural part of life. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You exist as part of nature. And everything that happens in nature is inevitable and right. So why do you fear what is its law? Everything that is born must one day pass away. This is not a tragedy, but the natural course of things. We do not weep for the setting of the sun because we know it will rise again in the morning." So why do we mourn the end of life, which is also part of the cycles of nature? When we realize that life is finite, we begin to truly appreciate it. If we had an infinite amount of time, why would we be in a hurry to live, to love, to create? Death reminds us that every moment is a gift. It teaches us not to put important things on hold, because that later may never come. Epictetus said, "Remember death in order to live wisely." This idea, known as memento mori, remember death, was key to Stoic philosophy. Fear of death is often linked to our resistance to its inevitability. We spend energy avoiding thoughts of the end, as if that might save us. But the Stoics taught that acceptance is the path to liberation. If you accept that death is inevitable, it ceases to be an enemy. It becomes simply a fact that you learn to live with. As Seneca said, "He who has learned to die has learned to be a slave." Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself, you can leave life at any moment. Let it determine what you think, what you do, what you say. The idea that everything is temporary may seem frightening at first. But it is this temporariness that gives things value. Imagine a flower that never wilts. After a while, you will stop noticing its beauty because it will become a familiar part of the landscape. But when you know that this flower will soon wilt, you begin to appreciate it now, in the present moment. In the same way, the realization of our mortality makes us appreciate not only the big moments, but also the everyday joys. The smile of a loved one, the taste of fresh bread, the touch of the wind on your skin. All this becomes much more important when you realize that these moments are not eternal. Fear of death often makes us slaves. We cling to security, comfort, control because we want to escape finitude. But in this quest, we often forget to live. The Stoics taught that freeing yourself from the fear of death allows you to truly experience life. Epictetus said, "Death is not fearful. What is fearful is how you imagine it." When you stop being afraid, you become free. You stop putting life on hold. You stop wasting time on petty fears and regrets. The Stoics saw death not as an end, but as a transformation. Marcus Aurelius wrote that death is just a transition, part of the great cycle of nature. Just as autumn leaves fall to make way for new spring growths, so death makes room for the new. This idea brought comfort to the Stoics. They realized that each of us is part of something bigger, and by leaving we do not disappear, but simply become part of a different process. Death teaches us to live without regrets. When you know that time is limited, you stop putting off your dreams, you start to appreciate real relationships, you stop regretting the past that can't be changed. Seneca wrote, "We lose only the time we spent without meaning." Death reminds us that every day is an opportunity to live consciously, without wasting it. For the Stoics, death was not a cause for fear or despair. They saw it as the natural conclusion of a path they sought to walk honorably. Epictetus said, "When it is time to leave, leave like a guest who thanks his host for a fine evening." Lesson 8. Letting go is powerful. One of the most difficult but necessary things in life is the ability to let go. We hold on to grudges, to past mistakes, to lost opportunities, to relationships that have long since lost their meaning. We cling to what no longer serves us and allow it to become our burden. The Stoics taught that letting go of this burden is the key to freedom and inner peace. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "How much pain a man causes himself when he clings to the past." These words are simple but profound. We often don't realize how much our unwillingness to let go of something affects us. We carry around invisible chains that grow heavier with each passing year. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It means accepting. Accepting what happened without resistance. Accepting that you can't change the past, but you can change your attitude towards it. Accepting that not everything is in our power, and that's okay. Life is unpredictable. We lose people, face setbacks, experience disappointments. It is an inevitable part of human existence, but it is up to us to let these events control us. The Stoics taught that every event in life is a neutral fact. It is we who give it meaning. It is we who decide how to react to it, and therein lies our power. To let go means to stop fighting what has already happened. We can't bring back the past, we can't change other people, but we can free ourselves from pain by not clinging to it. It's not easy. Letting go takes courage. We fear that by letting go, we will lose a part of ourselves. But in fact, we don't lose ourselves, we lose the heaviness that kept us from moving forward. When you let go, you make room for the new. New opportunities, new emotions, new people. You stop living in the shadow of the past and begin to be truly present in your life. Seneca wrote, "It is useless to weep over a broken cup. It is better to think how not to break the next one." These words remind us to focus on the present and the future, not on what is already gone. Letting go doesn't mean giving up on your emotions. It means allowing them to be and then moving on. Anger, resentment, grief are all natural reactions to loss, but they don't have to become our everlasting reality. When we learn to let go, we begin to see the world differently. We stop wasting energy on fruitless attempts to change what can no longer be changed. We begin to realize that true strength lies not in holding on, but in releasing. Life is too short to carry the weight of the past. Release yourself. Let yourself live. Because it is only when you let go that you truly become free. Lesson 9. Every moment counts. Life goes by faster than we can imagine. Day follows day, year follows year, and before we know it, decades are behind us. In this race against time, people often forget the most important thing of all, the present moment. We spend most of our lives thinking about what has been or worrying about what will be. We live in anticipation of tomorrow, underestimating the power of today. But Stoic wisdom teaches us something else. Every moment is important. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The past is gone, the future has not yet arrived. Rule over the present, for it alone belongs to you." This simple observation hides a profound truth. Our whole life is made up of individual moments, and each of them has significance. But we often underestimate the present moment. We waste precious time on empty worries, distracted by little things that we won't even remember in a week. We put off our dreams, thinking that we have a lot of time ahead of us. But time is an irretrievable resource. Every moment we live is gone forever, and it will never come back. The Stoics talked about the importance of recognizing this reality. They believed that understanding the transience of time helps us focus on what is truly important. When we realize the finitude of our lives, we begin to truly appreciate them. Every moment can be a turning point if we learn to live it consciously. But what does it mean to live the moment consciously? It doesn't mean we have to fill every moment with actions or accomplishments. It means we have to be here and now, fully present in our life. Often people spend their lives on autopilot. Their thoughts are either stuck in the past or rushing into the future. They live as if they have an infinite amount of time to correct mistakes, make choices, or just be happy. But time doesn't wait, it's passing. And the sooner we realize this, the fuller our lives will become. Every moment is a chance to see the beauty around us. It is an opportunity to feel alive, to breathe the air, to hear the sound of the wind, to feel the warmth of the sun. All this is available to us here and now, but we often do not notice it because of the endless race for something more important, as it seems to us. The Stoics said, "See each moment as a gift. Whether it is big or small, full of joy or hardship, it is one of a kind, it will never be repeated. Life is not something that will be someday. It is something that is happening right now. We cannot put off our happiness or our dreams for later. We don't know how much time we have left, and that's why every moment matters." When you learn to appreciate the present, you begin to feel differently about life. You no longer wait for tomorrow to bring you joy, you find it today. You stop regretting the past because you realize that it has already passed. And you stop fearing the future because you know that you have only this moment. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Live as if you are now doing the last thing you are destined to do." This is not a call to panic, but a reminder that each moment is unique. If we knew that this morning or this evening is the last in our lives, we would treat it differently. We would value it more. We would appreciate it more. But we don't have to wait until we realize the finitude of time to start appreciating what we have. We can do it now. After all, that's what true wisdom is all about. Living consciously, realizing that every moment counts. When you begin to live this way, your life becomes more meaningful. You stop wasting time because you realize its value. You choose to be the best version of yourself because you know that every action you take is a contribution to your destiny. The Stoics taught us that realizing the importance of the present moment is the key to inner peace. When you live in the present, you are freed from unnecessary burdens. You stop regretting the past because you realize it is no longer in your control. You stop worrying about the future because you know it has not yet come. Every moment is an opportunity to take a step forward, an opportunity to learn something new, an opportunity to be grateful for what you have. Remember, life is short. No one knows how much time he has. But this is not a reason for fear, it is a reason for gratitude. After all, every moment we have is a chance to live life to the fullest. So live in such a way that every moment matters. Let your life be filled not with regrets about what could have been, but with joy for what is. Because in the end, it is moments like these that make up our happiness. Lesson 10. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Many of us live our lives in anticipation. We wait for the perfect conditions to appear so we can start something important. We wait for inspiration to act. We wait for the right moment to change our lives. But that moment may never come. The Stoics taught there are no perfect circumstances. There is only what we have here and now. And if we constantly put off our goals, dreams, and decisions, we run the risk of wasting a lifetime without ever truly beginning to live. Epictetus wrote, "Not tomorrow and not later. Act now, for there may be no other time." This is a reminder that we only own the present. Everything else is an illusion. The perfect moment is a trap of our mind. We fool ourselves into thinking the future will be more suitable for action. We expect to have more time, more resources, more certainty. But this waiting never ends. Life is complex, and circumstances are rarely convenient. Sometimes we face obstacles, sometimes we doubt ourselves. But this is not an excuse for inaction. It is, on the contrary, an opportunity to show ourselves that we are stronger than we seem. The Stoics said that action is more important than thinking. Waiting for perfect conditions is wasting time. After all, every moment can be a starting point. When you stop waiting, life begins to change. You realize that you don't need anything special to get started. You already have everything you need. You have this moment, and it is enough. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Every morning remind yourself that today is your opportunity. Don't miss it." This is advice that can be applied to any area of life. Do you want to start something new? Take the first step. Do you want to achieve a goal? Start with what's available now. Life is unpredictable. The perfect time may not exist at all, but that shouldn't stop you. On the contrary, it should inspire you to use everything you have right now. Every day is a chance, and it doesn't matter how imperfect it seems. What matters is how you use it. There is no point in waiting. After all, time is the most valuable resource, and every moment of it is priceless. Act. Don't look for perfect conditions because they are a myth. Just start. And in the process, you will realize that this was the perfect moment you were looking for so long. We have come to the end of our journey, but this is only the beginning of your own journey. Life is a complex mosaic in which each lesson has its place. It is impossible to fully understand it, but we can strive to make it meaningful. Remember, you have the power to change your reality if you accept these truths and take action. If this video has made you think, if at least one of the lessons resonated in your heart, give this video a like and share it with those who may find it useful. After all, perhaps this is what will help them see the light in a difficult moment. Subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss new videos about philosophy, psychology, and the art of self-development. There are many more interesting things ahead of us, and in the comments tell us what lesson from this video you consider the most important for you. Remember, every day is a new chance. Live consciously, live courageously, live in harmony with yourself and the world. Because one day we will all meet our 70 years, and the only question is what we will be like then. See you in the next video.